Look at the state of the tech world.
The new year is not starting off on a happy note for workers at some of the country's largest tech companies, with more layoffs just announced.
Mass layoffs, forums and Reddit and LinkedIn absolutely full of open to work badges, cries for help, and conversations of long-time unemployment. It just goes to say that being a good coder is not enough anymore. And if you really want to stand out, if you really are finding yourself in a spot where you want to make a change, here are 3 pieces of advice that I wish I had when I was coming up that you can take with and run at whatever level you see fit. Let's talk about it. Like you, we're all trying to work 40 hours. And I get it. Some of you are cranking 100+ hour weeks and some of you are part-time heroes.
I'm pretty tired. Think I'll go home now.
And one of my biggest pieces of advice that I've realized over the last 2 years, and something that will really help you stand out, is to do a little recon, whether it be on Workday, talking to colleagues, creeping their LinkedIn, and really figure out who you're talking to when you're going to give a demo. And I don't mean just understanding their name. You should know that. But what I'm talking about is having a real understanding of what their role in the business is and what their role on your project is. Here's a silly example. You're a designer and you're going to give a demo to your design lead. They probably care that the button is blue and not red. They're going to have an interest in that. But if you were to give that exact same demo to your boss's boss, the truth is they probably don't give a shit what color the button is, and they just care that that button happens to be the finalized checkout, which is going to make the business money. And it's not that they don't care that you worked super hard to fight CSS or that you made the backend API to support the button. It's just that their role is all about making money, dealing with staffing and contracts, and finding additional business leads to bring in a bigger market for the company. Do yourself a favor, help yourself by helping them understand the tools that you're providing, but in their world and in their terminology. And if you're asking how the hell you can do that, here are 3 W's that I like to use when I'm trying to tailor my demo to my target audience. First and foremost, you need to answer why they care. What is their role in the business? Why do they care that you added this button? How is it going to help them? The second of the 3 W's, what is the minimum amount of information that you can give them based off of why they care? And this isn't to hide information, but this is to streamline and put a spotlight on the bits of information and the overall message that you're trying to deliver to them. Once again, help yourself by helping them. And the last W may seem a bit strange, but this last W is, where should this demo take place? Is it in person? Is it over Zoom, Microsoft Teams? Is it in the cloud, or is it locally deployed on your machine? This is one of those, like, doesn't seem like it quite fits with the others, but I promise you, if you can nail this one, you're going to have a much better delivered message. They're going to probably think a little higher of you, and you're going to get a lot less questions and instead receive some proper feedback that we're all actually trying to get out of our bosses. I put this pillar first because, in my opinion, this is the biggest secret that really high quality engineers just know how to take advantage of. If nothing else in this video, consider those 3 W's and start tailoring your demos for the target audience in their language. I promise you, it'll make a huge difference on how you are received and perceived from the people that control your money. The second piece of advice that I wish I had when I was coming up was really putting emphasis on reading, but more importantly, writing documentation. Rather than starting your coding session with ChatGPT on one screen and your IntelliJ or VS Code on the other screen, I really encourage you to start making the API documentation of whatever tool or library you're using your very first place to look. I can't count the amount of times I've helped another engineer, and truthfully myself included, where the issue with the snippet of code is that the ChatGPT prompt they used just wasn't good enough. You're trying to use methods that don't exist anymore, options that just flat out never existed, or even smaller, more subtle things like you're on version 5, but ChatGPT is giving you answers and responses to version 3. So what do you do in this scenario? You start riffing back and forth with ChatGPT, just trying to brute force your way through this. And this type of prompt hellhole, I think you can completely avoid if you just start reading the API docs first. More importantly, I wish I would have spent way more time actually writing documentation. And it's not that I didn't write docs, but quite honestly, the docs that I did write were quite shit. Spending more time writing in general will not only help you write better documentation, but also help you better sell the system and yourself. Think about it. Your documentation is kind of like this Russian nesting doll. You have function or method level docs, which roll up to your class level docs, which roll up to your service or API docs, which rolls up to your microservice, which rolls up to your architecture, which rolls up to the product line. As you grow in your career and spend different amount of time in all of these different levels writing documentation, I promise you that you will have a huge jump start if you just start putting more emphasis on writing now. I remember being asked my very first time to help identify components of a product line for a proposal we were working on. I had never done that before, had no clue where I should even start. And it really highlighted how terrible of a writer I was. So now I just spend more time writing. I actually find that I enjoy writing. It's peaceful, it's relaxing, it energizes me, but also are great additions to my resume so that in the future I can go ahead and better sell myself. The last piece of advice I wish I had when I was coming up was to spend more time prioritizing personal projects. As I mentioned in the beginning, the tech world right now is kind of a shit show. It's damn hard to get a job in tech right now, and based off of all of the data that I've seen and interviews that I've been a part of, the people getting hired fast are the ones that have personal projects that they can show off and talk about. In full transparency, for a very long time, I was one of those people that thought it was absolute bullshit to work on side projects. Like, I write code 9 to 5. Why am I going to write more code outside of work? But the real kicker of prioritizing personal projects is not only helps you foster creativity, but allows you and gives you an avenue to show off your problem-solving skills. Sure, you might have to solve a leak code problem or two during your interview process, but it is really fucking cool when you can show off that you found a problem in the world and you solved it. And I'm personally not a leak code fanatic. You just don't use that in the real world. So if you can show me some real software and how you ideated the problem, decomposed all the features and tasks, and implemented it, I would pick you 10 times out of 10 to join my team over the leak code expert. And there you have it. That's 3 actionable, practical pieces of advice I wish I had when I was coming up. And to practice what I'm preaching, check out the card over here or the link down below where I'm prioritizing my personal project, and to take you along the entire journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, the success, the failures, all of it right here on YouTube. So subscribe if you're a dev or if you're interested in that SaaS journey. I post a new video every week. And with that, I will see you next week. Peace.